Hey everyone, I'm Michael Bruce, CMO at Agent Moves, and welcome to our Good to Great series. We're all about sharing amazing stories of top realtors and how they got there so we can help make more realtors great. So let's jump in today with our guest, Dave Allan. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How's it going?
All right, excellent, really good. So spoke to Dave a little bit before. I like to talk about something other than real estate since that's what we're going to do for the entire interview. So a couple of cool things about Dave: loves guitar, kind of stuck in the 90s, and that's okay by me too. Some good guitar stuff in the 90s. And he's also into Muay Thai, which is a martial arts. He doesn't know, but I had studied as well. I got mugged in Manhattan. You weren't born yet, Dave, but it was in the 80s. And I studied Shorin Ryu for a couple of years, actually right to my brown belt. And my wife's water broke as I was testing for my brown belt. So I
Oh,
never
wow.
got it. But then I did do Krav Maga with my older son in Manhattan
Cool.
at that point. But I was wondering, why am I going with my 30-year-old to choke me 3 times a week? And I pay for it. So tell me a little bit about it. People that get into that kind of training, I know how intense it is, but tell me a little bit about it.
I started actually when I was like really young, and in the beginning I was doing karate. I was doing actually like Tiger Showmans, so I
Oh,
love that. It was through like seventh and eighth grade. But then once I got into high school, I started doing wrestling. My dad was like a really big wrestler when he was in high school, and I always looked up to him for a lot of different things with regards to like fitness and just different disciplines to get into. But after high school, I mean, I should actually say after college, I wanted to get back into something to stay active. And there was a friend who I worked with over at the agency that I'm with now, Keller Williams, who actually did jujitsu. So I thought it would be really cool try out jujitsu, try out Muay Thai,
mhm.
and I've done wrestling for like 5 years at this point. So I was kind of like, I'm gonna take a break with like the jujitsu stuff. Let me focus more on like the stand up kickboxing type of martial arts. So I love it. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it too.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think it's also great for kids. I don't know if you have kids, but I think karate, martial arts, I think just gives kids, such a self awareness. Really recommend it highly. I know kids get caught up in so many sports these days where something like karate for themselves, I think it's such a great self discipline.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So let's talk about, okay, so you come out of school and tell us about how do you get involved in real estate?
So originally, like I said, a lot of this stuff I kind of just followed in my father's footsteps with, because I just always thought of him as he was my hero
Yeah.
growing up. So he was a mortgage lender, and he did a lot of loans for basically big commercial properties where he would
Mhm.
restructure and refinance the loan, and they would go out shopping for other commercial assets. So originally, I saw the developers who he was working with, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I thought that was the coolest because they're out there, they buy land, they chop it up into little pieces, and they're selling off pieces of it, and they're making money. I was like, this is easy. And originally when I got into that, the first job I got was like an internship at a college. It was being a property manager for one of the developers that my father was working with at the
Oh,
time. I did not like property managing. It was basically, I felt like I was doing like, just like janitorial stuff, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I didn't really want to stay, in that kind of field. So I got into the sales end of real estate and, kind of just built my business through that field. And then, still trying to learn the land aspect of real estate as well as just developing my sales skills.
so talk to me about from the residential side, right? You get involved now the first year, right? And again, like you said, breaking up, on the commercial side. How does it go for you the first year?
So the first year of residential was probably, I mean, everybody's first year is usually really tough, because this is the year that I mean, you don't know anything. You don't know how to build systems or what those systems even look like. And you have to build your client base. You don't have anybody in your database. So for me, the residential side, it was really tough, but it's a hustle. You just do your open houses, you get on the phone. And for me, it took me a couple months, but I got the hang of it. I did not make a lot of money my first year. Second year, obviously huge improvements. So then onwards, you kind of develop a kind of a feel for the market. and how the ebb and flow of the market is. You know what I mean? As far as supply and
Mhm.
demand. We've been in a crazy couple of years as far as the market goes after 2008. And, for me, that's been a really big learning experience. I try and take this all as a learning experience. And each year it's paid off really fruitfully, because I develop a lot of skills in between that time frame, and I can use those skills for, obviously future business. But residential, yeah, I mean, what did it look like the first year? The first year of residential looked like me trying to learn how to communicate properly with people. Because I think communication skills, go hand in hand with sales skills. And, interpersonal skills coming out of college, I just didn't have them. Even as a server and a bartender at like restaurants, I didn't really have the interpersonal skills necessary for real estate. But once I understood that, residential was good. And then when I got into commercial, I kind of just copied and pasted a lot of the things from residential. It wasn't perfect, but I was able to adjust.
Right. So great, that you had that understanding. First of all, a lot of people like come out, bull in a china shop. I'm going to go crazy and I'm going to make a gazillion dollars, right? You understanding yourself, being a young guy and getting involved this young, which is awesome, right? You understood what you needed to learn from the communications aspect and so forth. So you go into this, and again, like you said, you knew no one, right? You're this young guy. You decide to get involved in real estate. And now you got to be, I guess, banging away on the phones to start to just create some connections, right? Tell us about that. Were you doing just phone? Were you getting involved in the community? How did you get ready for like year two?
Yeah, so like during year one, I mean, that was the whole like skill building aspect of it, and not really understanding what I was doing at the time. I had a coach and they helped, but I wasn't really, I'm the type of like student who needs to fail a lot,
Good.
before I figure it out.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I was running through a lot of walls with that. But once I organized my thoughts a little bit and understood, like, what we were actually doing with these sales skills and how to build from there. But yeah, year two, year three was a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just gonna be honest. I got cursed off a lot. A lot of people did not, like me calling them. I've had a lot of threats. It's not easy, but you learn from all of these failures like really quick, and you kind of learn, the biggest thing is like taking a different attitude on this whole entire, kind of lead generating sourcing, I guess you could say. It's like, a lot of the times my ego is attached to these calls way too much. And like I'm not thinking about the person I'm talking to over the phone and like what they're doing. So, the first thing was just trying to, communicate. And it's not just through talking, a lot of it's through like how you talk and how you're saying certain things that got me like a couple inches forward with
Mm.
regards to keeping them on the phone, almost as if I'm a negotiator, right? Trying to keep the person on the line as long as possible. That's the whole point. And, once I had a better understanding of what they were doing and, having a better feel for that, right? Instead of being aggressive with them at certain points, calming yourself down in the beginning and having an easier approach with them, it led to a much better result, better returns, better relationships, more genuine. That was the biggest thing. They were authentic at that point.
Right. Yeah. Great advice. I mean, great advice for, the newbies coming in. And these interviews are both for, newbies and successful agents. And we'll talk about, as you built the success. So, because here, different than other agents that are doing this for a number of years. I mean, now you're here, right? But those first few years, you know no one. You didn't come from another business. You didn't have a database from another business, right? That you could maybe use. You weren't a teacher connected to parent,
Right.
student, all kinds of things. You had to go like from nothing, never mind being a young guy. So now, you're into these couple of years, year 4 or 5. You've got the phone going, right? And you're creating some lead gen. Are you doing things in the community? Are you doing events? What else do you do to make connections?
So the funny thing is, I was kind of in the beginning, and it took me a while. It took me probably until like year 4 or 5 until I actually had a solid system. Because most of the things that I was doing was synonymous to taking paint, just like a carton of paint and just throwing it against the wall and just
Right.
kind of just looking to see like, oh, there it is. There's the, the image that I'm trying to create. So it was kind of just trial by fire in a lot of ways. But the big thing that I would say really helped me focus on a specific goal. Sorry, my dog right now is
No,
attacking
no,
me.
no
She's
problem.
over here.
Beautiful.
A lot of things that helped was and narrowed my focus down. I would get an open house, right? And I would build a database specifically for agents that I would want to get these open houses from. Build relationships with them, right? I'd have at least 10, and I would always have an open house for the weekend. And then what I would do is I would geo farm that specific neighborhood, and geo farming would look like, maybe a phone call as like an invitation to the open house. That's like the first day. Maybe like Wednesday, that would be Monday. Wednesday, I'll go and door knock just to introduce, but I'll give people, information on the house.
Hmm.
It's almost like killing two birds with one stone
Yeah,
because now you're putting yourself out there, you're showing people, you're being active with regards to trying to get this property sold. You're touching base with the actual market because that is the market. It's
yeah,
just buyers and sellers. So you're distinguishing and organizing, between these lines when you're going and actually physically touching these people's hands. And then, during the open house, I would just reach back out to everybody as like a tail end follow up call
hmm,
and say, if they came, that's great. If not, maybe let them know like, hey, there was a lot of activity. If you're interested, I have a list of people came to this open house who I know for sure are interested in this neighborhood.
perfect.
So if you got, yeah, and it's just little breadcrumbs,
Yeah,
but you do it on a big scale, and then, recently I really wanted to focus on specific locations, specific towns and dig really deep into them. Because usually when I cold call, it's usually all over the place,
right.
I'm more of an opportunist. I'll take what I can get, depending on what the product is or what the price point or the person, right? Even
Yeah,
the
yeah.
person too.
So
Yeah, I'll pick and choose my battles.
are the open houses coming from your cold calling, or are you doing something else to get those listings?
Well, I'll reach out to agents in the office and network with real estate agents.
Gotcha.
This business, you got to network with everybody.
Yeah,
You want everybody to know who you are, So I'll talk to the top agents in the office. I'll go on the MLS. I'll look and see who's producing in my office, you know? If not in my office, maybe go outside just to see if there's other relationships that you could build because there's tons of ways that you could make money in this industry.
yeah, yeah. Very good. Yeah, like so you'd be running open houses for other agents.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Excellent.
building relationships with them, having an Excel spreadsheet with those agents, reaching out on a every Monday, having a good conversation with them. When's that open house coming up? If
Yeah.
you want, I'll do it for you.
No,
And
great.
that's just one bucket. You gotta have a couple different buckets
Yeah,
going, and or not even buckets. I like to think of them as fishing rods.
right. Yeah.
So that fishing rod is over here. We check that on Monday, and then Tuesdays we have all these guys, and then I gotta, we cold call every other day.
That's good. That's what it is, like finding your rhythm, finding, and like you said, you're at a point now where a tremendous part of your business is already coming from referrals, right? It
Mhm.
took you all this time to get here. Now you're in a great place, to go forward. So first, I want you to give me one of these because I love that you like to, you succeed by failing, okay, which everyone does, just a lot of people won't admit it. And failing fast is critical, right? Tell us one or two of the things that you'd never do again. I tried this, but I wouldn't do that again.
One or two of the things, huh? That one's kind of tough. That one's kind of tough. I
Like,
mean, I will say one thing. When I did start commercial, there's a lot of there's a lot of different skill sets with commercial real estate that does take some time to learn. And initially, because I had a listing, it all comes back to opportunity.
yeah,
And I was lead generating, and I happened across a person who needed a retail space leased out. So I got the space, I got the listing, but to do this person a justifiably good job in selling his property, or I'm sorry, in leasing it, I needed some of the commercial tools that were available to be able to put this out there to the commercial people who were going to be looking for it. So I didn't know where to go. So I didn't really talk to a lot of people, which is silly because spending all this time networking. But at the end of the day, I paid for a bunch of services, loaded up the credit card, and kind of just, I'll figure it out as it goes along. And you know what? When you pay for stuff, you do tend to figure it out pretty
Thanks.
quick. Because I did figure it all out, but I did figure out that I was overpaying for a lot of things. So I think that, there are a lot of things moving forward that I haven't really participated in with regards to the residential side that I would like to try and, see how that changes my business.
Hmm.
Um, I don't plan on going the same path I did with commercial, is what I'm saying. I'm not going to be spending my money like crazy.
Right.
So I'll be a little bit more diligent on where I allocate funds.
Right, a little smarter about it. Yes, very, very good. So, what else are you doing at a scale now? Here you are. It's 2025. I know you've sold over 100 homes. In your career. What are you doing now to look to scale the business? Now, are you like, is it equal commercial, residential? Are you looking to, grow one area, doing things in social?
So this is very like organic for me. All of this is something that's kind of growing because my end goal was always to be a developer. That's always been something that I will end up doing. So for me, it's more of a journey than me being in a specific, spot or, growing in that specific spot, in one specific direction. I do plan on buying investment properties, and that's a business in itself.
Yeah.
I do want to grow, in other ways as far as residential and commercial. But getting back to the meat and potatoes, where do I see myself going? Honestly, commercial is it can be very fruitful. It took a very long time for me to see that. But now that I know what I need to do, right? Because initially I was doing residential stuff and copy and pasting it into the commercial field, and I was fumbling and I had to figure out the path. And now I know the path. Now I want to mass multiply the path, right? Because I know how long some of these sales pipelines can be. I can brace myself now because I didn't before. So now I want to explore commercial more because I see the developmental side kind of intertwining better with the commercial side as opposed
Makes
to residential.
Yeah,
There's just more of a need for it.
yeah,
I see more builders in that realm of real estate. So I figured like let's learn a little bit more in this field because I think down the line it's going to be useful for me for potential investments,
very good, very good. Yeah, love it, love it, and love that you have a vision. As a young guy coming into this, right? You've had a sense, and again, maybe like you said, your dad's your hero. You're in this kind of category, if you will. It was always around your home, right? You always kind of knew about it, but you have a different vision, which is very, very cool. And I think, a couple of things that you brought up, I think are great nuggets for people. The systems, knowing that you were all over the place when you started and what you needed to do, grabbing a coach. I mean, all of these things I think are critical to success.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Really coming down, and the systems for everybody are going to be different. I mean, they're all going to basically follow some like similar pathway, but everybody kind of, goes their own way and finds themselves at the end goal, I feel like, at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I would definitely suggest to coach 100%. Definitely
great.
get a coach just from coming out of college,
Yeah,
It helps to have someone just mentor you a little bit.
yeah. I've seen the most successful agents still have a coach,
Mhm.
still want to talk to. I mean, these people doing crazy money still want a coach to help. What's new? What's happening? I'm thinking about this. It's a great partner, from what I've seen from the most successful agents.
The one thing I will say from having a coach, I had to let him go, but he was probably the best coach I've had. I've had a couple coaches. I've had one of the ladies in the office too, Teresa. She'd kill me if I didn't say it, but she was a great coach too. But the last one I had, and this made me realize there's so many different components to a business, and the one component that I really, really didn't know I needed a lot of help in was actually sales because his psychology with regards to sales, I think that is probably the most important thing that comes into real estate more than anything else. Because real estate, you're dealing with people. At the end of the day, it's a people business.
Yeah.
You know,
100.
whoever has that house, it's a person, and
Yeah.
you're going to have to go through them to be able to get it. Knowing how to deal with people and knowing how to let your ego go, because it's not going to help you. And I see that a lot with realtors too. A lot of people just have really, really, they're proud, and they should be. There's nothing wrong with being proud, but nobody else really cares. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing. Like, you can care, and I respect that, and I'm very proud too. But I understand that other people may not really care, and that's completely fine. I'm okay with that. They don't need to. So that's the one thing I will say. Pride and your ego, sometimes it
Check
gets in
your
the way.
ego. Yeah, great
Yeah.
advice. Great advice. In general, in business, like if you have a big ego, it typically will get in the way. How you check it at the door in general, I think, again, great advice. Coming, whether you're coming into this new or not, it's definitely, you got to check that ego. But really appreciate this. Is there a place that people can follow you on social media?
Realtor Dave Allan.
Okay, beautiful.
I spell my last name Allan.
Yes, excellent. Okay, beautiful. So please
Well,
follow Dave on social and follow Agent Moves on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. And until next time, Dave, thank you so much. I think we got some great tips here, and
awesome.
that's what we're looking for. So really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.